Good morning, legends. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had an amazing day yesterday. We had some price action happen during the first news event of the week last night. We're going to get into that today. We're going to have a look at how we're reacting after that news and just take a general look at the overall market. So the daily has just opened at the time of filming this, and we do have a couple of things here to note. Looking at a higher time frame, quite a bleed on Bitcoin over the past few days. Ethereum as well. USDT dominance has hit a new high. So has the Dixie, and sadly the S&P and the Nas have also created lower lows. So on the daily, things don't look that great. Let's have a quick look at a smaller time frame on all of these. Now, when we zoom into the 1 hour time frame, we've got some good and some bad news. Firstly, starting with the S&P and also the Nasdaq, they're both very similar. We did have a bit of a push up when the PPI was announced, which was looking great, but then throughout the US session, we came back down, and that happened on both the Nasdaq and the S&P. However, at the same time of that happening, Bitcoin actually created a higher low, and so did Ethereum. We're going to dive deeper into those in a second. The US dollar currency index, we really want to see that create an M pattern, but unfortunately it has created a higher high. Now, that doesn't mean that this isn't an M formation. There is an M formation where the second peak is a higher high rather than a lower high. It's not the kind of M formation that I personally like to trade, because at the end of the day, the market structure hasn't changed. So what I would be waiting for on the Dixie right now is to see if this is in fact going to be the M formation. We will have to retest it, and effectively that is going to create a head and shoulder pattern. So this is what we want to see in order to believe that the markets are going to recover, at least in the short term. However, as we know, this is a very extensive news week with things going on every day, and we may not be so lucky. On the other hand, the USDT dominance has also created a lower high, and that is looking like a better M formation at this point in time. What we need now is very similar to this one, is we now need for that to break down and retest, and then we would expect further downside. And if we were to get that, then we would expect that cryptocurrency in general will be able to have some sort of a short-term recovery at the very least. So now let's zoom in and have a look at Bitcoin. This is what we were talking about on yesterday's video. Be sure, if you didn't check it out, be sure to go back and check it out. What we were waiting for was to see if we would get a W formation. And if we move this one down here a little bit, it does look like that is what is potentially happening now. Now again, because this is a very tricky week, we want to be trading conservatively. Normally you would take an entry on a candlestick reversal formation at the second peak of the W, but we're not in a normal environment. And in this environment, we want to be a lot more careful, which means that we're going to be better off still sticking with this trade idea where we either reject the 50 EMA and take a short position from there, or we break the 50 EMA, retest it, and take a long position from there. That's going to be our conservative entry. If we can get that break and retest, our long position goal is going to be up to the 200 EMA. This is all on the 1 hour time frame. If we reject the 50 EMA, then we're coming back down with a goal into this previous zone that we identified between 19,500 to around 20,500. We did just miss that zone yesterday, probably intentional, because I think it would have been very obvious that there would be an influx of buy orders at around the 20K level. So kind of seems obvious that the market maker would stop the bleed a few $100s above that so that those orders didn't get filled. But doesn't mean that the market maker won't come back for them at another time. Another thing to note is that we are now in the bullish moon phase. So at some point after the bullish moon phase, we start to look for trend reversals to the upside. So we do have the tick so far with the W formation. However, with all the news coming out this week, I don't think it's a good idea to trade the W. Definitely wait for that retest of the 50, because any unfavorable news event is going to send the market down again. Now, if you are trading Bitcoin or you're trading crypto in general, I highly advise this week that before you take an entry, especially this week, before you take an entry on any position in crypto, just quickly switch to having a look at what what the NASDAQ and the S&P are doing, and also the Dixie. They are correlated right now. If the NASDAQ and S&P are coming down and Dixie is moving up and you want to take a long position in crypto, it's very highly likely to not play out. So if you're seeing a perfect bullish setup on any cryptocurrency that you want to trade, just quickly flick to this, have a look. If this is looking bullish as well, take the trade. If this is looking bearish and it's much easier to identify, then I would hold off on the crypto trade. Having said that, again, if price also on Bitcoin pushes up to the 50 EMA and it's looking bearish to you, also again, have a look at the S&P and the NASDAQ. If they're looking bearish, that's going to be a good trade to take. This week especially, I certainly would not be only keeping my eyes on cryptocurrency to make my trade decisions without flicking to these two or even these three and having a look at what's going on there first. It's really going to save you and help you make a good decision, because if we have a look at this, for example, if you were to only be looking at Bitcoin, you may identify this W pattern, but at the same time, you may have also identified this M formation right here. So how do you know which one it is? Right? And this is where it gets confusing, because we are in confusing price action. And how you're going to know is by flicking over to have a look at what the general markets are doing and get a bit of a better idea. And we don't have confluence because we have a high low in crypto, but we have a lower high on these. So we want to now see these push up if you're to expect your W formation retest to actually play out. If these continue down, it's more likely that this M formation is going to play out. Let's have a look at what we've got going on today that we need to be aware of. We have the core retail sales tonight at 10:30 p.m. Melbourne time. That's going to be a market mover as well. And so we want to keep our eye on the charts at around that time. Also 4 a.m. Melbourne time Thursday, which will basically be before my update tomorrow. That's usually the bigger market mover. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that. And if you're on the other side of the world like me and it's at a ridiculous time, it's probably better to just not sit in open trades and reassess the price action after the new daily open. Now, I just want to go back quickly and go through what happened on yesterday's price action during the news event to show you exactly how the market maker traps you into taking the wrong position before they send the market the other way, because it was a very typical play. And if you're planning to trade tonight's price action, then you may be looking for something similar. So this dotted line here was the news announcement, and this was the price action leading up to it. For a normal retail trader, they would likely have had a triangle pattern drawn after we'd had some downside and it looked like we were trending up, broke the 50 EMA. This is on the 15-minute time frame, got a reversal candlestick pattern right here, and that's probably where a lot of people would have opened long positions. Then as we got closer to that news being announced, this is what the market maker did. They sent price down to stop out everybody who took that long position. And in this zone here, there were very significant buy orders sitting in trading light that were literally around this area here. So those buy orders got picked up, and this is where we then received the railroad tracks, which is a reversal signal. So what the market maker did was here lead you to believe we were going to break out long, induce you to take a long position, send price the other way, stop out those people who went long, but at the same time encourage people to open shorts because we broke the line. And then as soon as those short positions were opened, they put in a reversal signal, and if we play that out, this now would have stopped out everybody who went short from down here. And since then, the US session basically did nothing but went sideways. So it just goes to show why news events are so tricky to trade and highly volatile, because anyone who tried to trade before this event last night, whether they went long or they went short, all they did was provide liquidity to the market maker, and their position either way would not have played out successfully. So I always say this, it is much better to trade the recovery of news than trying to trade the news itself. So if you happen to see something like this right before tonight's news event, just know that you are being trapped. If you're in a time zone where the US session is during your nighttime, it's probably better to not even try to trade the event. Just wait till the next morning and trade the recovery of what may happen afterwards. Now let's take a very quick look at Ethereum, because Ethereum has done something really quite interesting and really tends to follow the market maker method, actually even better than Bitcoin. But after this sell-off here, we did have right here a stopping volume candle, which just happened to form right on the bullish moon phase. So on a daily level, this is looking good for a reversal. Obviously, it is very much dependent on the entire market and on crypto itself and everything like that. So I wouldn't trade Ethereum alone. The same rule applies. You really need to be switching out and checking what's going on the NASDAQ, the S&P in particular, and also the Dixie. But on a daily level, this does look pretty good. However, when we come down to the 1 hour, we have pros and cons here that we're going to talk about. Number one is possible inverse head and shoulders here. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, guys, don't forget to smash that like, subscribe, and turn the bell notification to all so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. I apologize if you can hear the whistle in the background. Also, we do have an extremely windy day here. Hopefully the background noise is cancelled out, but if you are hearing a whistle, it's not your computer, it is the wind outside. Anyway, back to this. So we do potentially have a inverse head and shoulder forming, not yet confirmed. That is one positive. We would need for it to break above this level here, which coincidentally would line up with the 50 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. So if we could break and retest that, that would be good. But anything under there, if we get a reversal candlestick pattern or we create a lower high, is going to remain bearish. The problem that we have is that we have declining volume here. So I don't really like that. And the pro is that the RSI is on the way up. So lots of conflicting information here. And when we don't have that confluence across everything that we're seeing, again, that's when it's best to sit out. So in order to look for a long position on Ethereum, we really want to see this break and retest. It's going to be a break and retest of the inverse head and shoulders, and it will also be a break and retest of the 50 EMA. That's going to be enough. It will also finally, it should create that RSI to break above its 50 line and retest as well. And if all of that happened, it would likely bring in the volume too. So need everything to match up in order to take a long position on Ethereum, but be very, very aware that anything under here is still opening us up to further downside. So it may sound like a really tricky one today, but it's actually not that difficult to trade because the rules are very specific. Where price is getting closer to the 50 EMA, which is great. A break and retest is bullish to the 200, around the 200 level. A rejection is bearish continuation to the downside. It's one or the other, and that actually does open us up to a fairly easy trade decision, but it's just going to take some time. So Asia may send us sideways for a bit. Let's see what the UK session wants to do, and if it wants to run a trend, it will either run that trend by breaking the 50 EMA or it will run the trend down by rejecting the 50 EMA. So that's my play of the day. I hope that was helpful. Be careful out there. Once again, do not forget to check the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Dixie before you enter any crypto trades, and make sure you get that confluence that you need. And also check out my social media links down below. On Twitter, I do updates in between these videos if there's anything important to know. And if you're looking for somewhere to trade, OKX is my preferred exchange. Grab the link from the description down below. They do have up to $500 sign up bonus right now, and also 15% discount on trading fees, which really does add up over time. Tomorrow, I will be back to trade the recovery with you guys. Have the most amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow.